Welcome, everyone. Before I officially call our meeting to order, I wanted to just quickly run through, give an overview of our agenda and what we're going to be covering tonight. Particularly, I know some of you in the room I saw counselors chatting with, but there is a shift to what we expected we might do. So if you're here hoping to hear a discussion on zoning or the charter tonight, we won't be taking those up tonight. We will take them up in a special meeting next Monday, the 13th at 7. So you're welcome to stay if you came for those. We'd love to have you. I also know you're busy people, and if you would like to leave, I won't be offended. But we will be meeting then, and please spread the word, help other people get that information too. We do have two presentations to start our meeting off. We have a citizen speaker then who will be addressing us, and then we have some minutes to accept, and then some routine business. We'll take a break for some subcommittee work and come back to act on what we can act on this evening. And Kim is ready in the booth for BevCam. Thank you. So with that, I'll call to order this regular meeting of the Beverly City Council, Monday, February 6, 2023, 7 o'clock p.m. Ms. Kent, would you please call the roll?
Bowen? Here. Crowley?
Here.
Feldman? Here. Hausman?
Here.
Rand? Here. Rotundo?
Here.
St. Hilaire?
Here.
Sweeney?
Here.
And Flowers.
I am here. Thank you, Ms. Kent. I'm going to ask Councillor Bowen if you would lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance and invite us all to remain standing for a moment of silence for those in Turkey who are suffering following the earthquake.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much, Councillor Bowen, and thank you, everyone. Because we have two presentations, we'll get right to it, and we'll begin with the first one on our agenda. Each of the presentations will be 15 minutes or so. There'll be time for some questions for councillors, and if there is further discussion that seems like it needs to follow, councillors, of course, you can reach out to either of our presenters, or we can have further conversation at another point. But we'll begin with David Parenchief, our veterans agent here in the city of Beverly. Thank you for being here with us, Mr. Parenchief.
Thank you, Madam President. So at this time, I'll try and get right to the main bullet points. So as you all have seen on the media lately, there's been a lot of legal advertisements for the Camp Lejeune water cases and the new VA PACT Act. The VA recently put out a blast notice to all the regions that there is an exorbitant amount of predatory legal practices going on. Lawyers stating that veterans are entitled to more than they will get, that they can backdate claims, that they can get, they're promising the world. That's not how this works. There's very, very strict federal guidelines for what benefits will be paid out and how they will be paid out. So in the event that you have any constituents within the realm that would be eligible, it's free at the office. We provide the exact same service at no cost. The second part of this is that with the PACT Act and the Camp Lejeune water and now the burn pit registry, long term we should start thinking about how many citizens of Beverly from 2001, from the beginning of the global war on terror till now, came from Beverly. Because any of the kids who joined, I was first generation because I joined prior to September 11th. So I'm first generation of exposure group. So you're looking at anybody who's in their 40s and younger over the last 20 years who may fall into this exposure group. So you should be thinking about the long-term issues that may come up. So if there's a way that either through the school departments or families to get the word out that if they had a kid serve in Southeast Asia or any of those regions, we should probably start reaching out and trying to track them down, again, long-term planning for themselves. With the PACT Act and Agent Orange, the Agent Orange Vietnam-era veterans are all, as you know, getting into their 70s now. So they are also hitting that aid and attendance age. They're starting to leave work or the working environment. So their conditions may start to become more prevalent because they're not focusing on their job or their families. Same issue with this. Aid and attendance is a very long process within the federal government. It can take up to 1 year. They will not pay for anything other than an assisted living or a skilled nursing home. I get people calling, oh, I'm going to put my dad in this retirement. No, they're not going to pay for a retirement home. It has to be a medically qualified facility. Also with that, the VA will only pay out a specific sum. They will take into account all the financials of the family, all the expenses and all the assets. After they've calculated it down, then they'll pay out a benefit. So with families who have aging parents, again, within your constituents, if they have a parent or a widow of a veteran who may qualify or is getting into that part where they think they're going to need the aid and attendance, start getting the assets and everything condensed and controlled now. Because walking into my office saying my dad needs aid and attendance, we have to move him to a nursing home tomorrow, you're looking at a year turnaround with the VA. Right now, I believe they're backlogged by almost 50,000 cases. Again, this is the long-term planning. The VA also does what's known as a 3-year look back. A big issue with the families are financial. Parents want to leave something for their kids. They want to look at what they can do. So if a family were to, say, sell the veteran's home and they get $400,000 for that property, you will not be eligible for aid and attendance. They will count that assets, that's financial assets that you can physically put your hands on. Now they will count it. If you live in the home, you're better off because a home is not considered an asset until it's sold. It's considered an expense. So these are all that long-term thinking where, again, talk to financial planners. I'm not an accountant, but any families who believe that they're going to need this benefit in the next 5 years or so, they should start looking at it now for their long-term gain. Because as you all know, healthcare is getting much more and more expensive. The senior center has been great. The new staff there has been reaching out. They've been helping with, getting people to my office. Our aid and attendance numbers have jumped significantly over the last few months. Right now, we're handling almost 500 claims. About 1/3 of those are aid and attendance claims. So that is the basic on what is going on from the federal side that you all should be aware of for your constituents. Moving on that, just to bring to all your attention, I did send out invitations to all of you. If you can make the meeting, great. If not, for the Warrior Weekend event, I had a meeting with the Mayor's Chief of Staff. This will be a large event, as in North Shore large. My goal long-term is to make Beverly a mini Fleet Week stop before the Memorial Day weekends that usually happen down in New York. I've been speaking with many of the higher echelon within the military recruiting commands because they have the most assets to provide, and by law they are supposed to provide events to the public. So I'm going to use every asset I can get from them that we don't have to pay for. So the events right now, all the branches of service have confirmed they're going to try and bring something. We have state support, state police, they're going to bring search and drone rescue groups to show off. We have nonprofits that are going to show up. Endicott College will be on site for long-term education. We're working with the VA to have on-site medical staff try and bring their medical bus to do blood draws and COVID shots because a lot of the older veterans can't get to Bedford. The VA regional office will plan to be there so they can do direct support for VA claims and benefits on their end. The ROTC, Major Martin has been doing a great job getting the ROTCs. We've gotten a response from the Navy band, so we're working on if they're going to bring their full parade band or their rock band, but they have already confirmed that they'll try and show up. The tanks and everything that we've had will also be on site. The Navy plans, the Air Force plans to hopefully bring 2 of their mini jets that kids can climb all over. We've also done a request for air assets, and this will be covered in a larger meeting, but I have requested pretty much anything that can fly vertically to land in Beverly. So fingers crossed on that one. I'm really hoping we get that. The Army has been working to try and get us their skydive team who will jump in. That is still in process. That obviously takes a little bit more logistical work. But if, fingers crossed, if they do arrive, they will be able to jump into the high school. So the event will be at the high school this year. The Veteran Council has been pretty solid in helping getting things up and rolling for that. So again, if you're able to make the meeting on the 16th, great. It'll be through Google Meet, so you can teleprompt in, or you can come up to FEMA where we'll be having the meeting. The Marine Corps' liaison will actually be on site. The lieutenant in charge of that, he's going to be providing trucks. They're going to be bringing an 18-wheeler with a VR headset and training tool stuff, so people can go in there and run around and play Marine for the day. So we covered aid and attendance, Chapter 115, the VA pension. Our numbers right now are looking pretty good for Chapter 115. Our budget, we're not talking budgets right now, but we are doing pretty good with no issues to worry about moving forward, so we shouldn't have to worry about having to shift anything as time gets closer. And if there's any questions on anything else, I think I have about another 7 minutes.
Thank you very much, Mr. Parent Chief. Councilors, are there any questions or comments for our Veterans Agent? Councilor Rotundo.
Mr. Parent Chief, just for clarification for those who may not know what Chapter 115 is, could you just give a quick, brief explanation, just so people may, even in the audience, not know?
So Chapter 115 is a state-run benefit program for any veteran that is considered low income. If the veteran has passed away, the widow, if she is not remarried, is also eligible for the benefit. This is a financially based benefit, so we will be reviewing your overall income. They have increased the amount of assets that a person may have on hand. For a single person, it's now about $8,000. For a married couple, it's $16,000. From there, we would take into account Social Security, pensions, retirements, any sort of other income that's coming in, and then essentially the state provides the safety net. City pays out the 100% and then is reimbursed at 75% of that rate. This also helps cover dental. Prescriptions, hospital visits, ambulance rides. These will all have to be paid off at the state rate. Again, as many of you know, Kowalski Dental has been a very strong supporter of this. But everything is based off of state payment rates.
That's it. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Parent Chief.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Feldman.
Yes, thank you. I thank you so much for this update and the presentation. And I know we spoke briefly in the spring about the hopes for the mini fleet week and that weekend, and it sounds really exciting. And I know you had expressed at the time that you were looking for ideas and things to make it family friendly and get a real a broad cross section and audience. And at the same time, just a few months ago, I had a constituent reach out that works for Change is Simple, and she was also wondering if there were events or anything that they could, for free attend, set up their booth, their STEAM lab, and it's very family-friendly, moving classroom. And I was wondering if you had if you were working with any other local nonprofits or anything, if it was open to other community collaborators that would dovetail with any of the aspects of your mission.
I would welcome anything.
Okay. I will send them your way then. And for the future, I think there's a lot of community organizations that pop into my head that would really, I think, fit nicely with the demographic and the event that you're trying to make it. So that would be great if we could have more community collaboration.
Well, Beverly has a unique location. We're far enough north where regions from Maine, Vermont, New Hampshire can make a drive down here. And if we build the event year after year, and when the military assets see that it's beneficial to them, they'll provide more assets. So that's why I'm working so hard to make this happen with as little hiccups as possible. So through that, we have to start thinking, after the first, second, or maybe third event, then that starts to benefit, main streets, downtown, local restaurants, businesses, tourism in general. It gives Beverly a unique event right before the long weekend, so then we get the benefit of families who would have left for the long weekend will still be in town. So again, it's going to take some time to get it up and running from what I envision, but we're off to a pretty strong start.
That's great, thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselors, other questions or comments for Mr. Parent Chief? All right. Well, Mr. Parent Chief, I will just say on sort of all of our behalf and behalf of our city, thank you for the work that you do. As you said, there's people who sometimes try to reach out to veterans saying that they can get them certain things, and you and your staff do that all the time. And you do that for our community and our veterans, and it's much appreciated. And I appreciate the day-to-day work that you put in. So thank you. Thanks for being here to update us as well. Our second presentation is from Paul Truffrey, who's acting chair of the Airport Commission, and this is for an update on construction. So, Mr. Truffrey, thanks for being here with us.
Thank you, and I appreciate you listening to me, Madam Chairman and councilors. I'm happy I have two of my fellow commissioners here, Peter Gentili and Josh Doxey. Josh has been on the commission for about 6 months. Peter, probably 6 years, right, with me? Probably closer to 8. Well, I'm in about 8, but you know. But anyway, just to let some of you who do not know me, I'm Paul Truffrey, 30-year resident of 43 Glidden Street. I've been on the Airport Commission for 7 years. I've been the chair for 8 months. I'll just let you also know I'm the co-chair of the Beverly Culture Council. We give out grants to artists and performers throughout the town, which is a great pleasure. I'm also on the board of directors for Beverly Main Streets and the Rocky Neck Art Colony up in Gloucester. I'm also on the President's Council of Montserrat College of Art. Recently, I was on the board of directors for the Patton Homestead in Hamilton, but I resigned after a year because of COVID. 6 boards is just too many. And I said yes way too many times. And for transparency's sake, in October, I gave the mayor notice that I was going to leave the Airport Commission. I've got lots of things that I want to do, and I'm learning that the chair of the Airport Commission is either a full-time job or a part-time job at least. And I've got things that I've got to do. I've enjoyed the 7 years on the commission. It's been an amazing experience. But I will tell you that I am not an aviation enthusiast. I don't know to plane. I'm not a pilot. I did not even ask to join the Airport Commission. The mayor came to me and asked me 7 years ago to join the commission because I had 25 years of airline management experience at Logan Airport. So I said yes, and maybe that was an interesting day. I do have a part of an 8 or 9 minute presentation about the construction. But I know that a lot of you, I've watched BevCam quite often. I know there's been some interest in the number of open positions on the commission, the growth of the airport, which has spilled over into other areas of the neighborhoods. The airport is a thriving place right now for a couple different reasons. So I'm going to offer up a couple of minutes for you to ask some questions on general topics, what I've touched upon, before I get into my presentation. Is there anybody have anything?
Councilors, any questions for Mr. Truffrey?
I know that at one point there was a concern, the Public Works Subcommittee was talking about the number of open positions. The mayor is working diligently trying to find people to fill those slots. Currently, there's 1 position open from Danvers. The commission has set up 9 total seats. 7 are allocated for Beverly residents, 2 for Danvers residents. Right now, there's 1 Danvers seat open and 2 for Beverly. We actually solicited throughout the entire airport community. I sent out an email to all the pilots, the student pilots, the business owners, and the flight schools. And I basically said, you know, the commission has some seats that are open. This is your airport more than it is ours. So some of you should probably, if you have the ability to serve, should step up and come serve. We had 5 people responded. One of them was a woman. I'll say she's currently an employee of one of the flight schools. I don't know if that's a conflict of interest that may concern the mayor, but we've given him 5 sets of resumes and cover letters, so hopefully, and the city has some other individuals. But with the 2 that are open from Beverly and in the future, myself, as soon as we get a new airport manager, I know Peter has said the exact same thing. So there will be a turnover on the commission. I will touch upon the growth. We've had a lot of people from Danvers come to the meetings recently. In September, we had about 30 people talk for 2 hours. We listened, it was an open hearing almost, and we listened. A lot of them are interested in why there seems to be so much new growth. And I went in and dove into the data. The growth that we're experiencing at Beverly, and I will tell you, general aviation for the last 50 years was in decline. In the 1970s, there were 200,000 landings and takeoffs at Beverly Airport. By 1990, it had dropped down to 100,000. The decline continued. We hit a low of only 44,000 landings and takeoffs. So from 200,000 down to 44,000, and that was the bottom. And the entire industry, I pulled it up and looked, has experienced almost the exact same roller coaster downwards. And there are economic factors that are beyond my ability to speak intelligently about, but general aviation was in decline. Since 2014, Beverly Airport has experienced an increase in activity. Lawrence is also, they're up 68% since their low. Norwood Airport is up 38%. Beverly is at a 98% increase. We were at 44,000. We're at about 83,000 landings and takeoffs last year. The reason for that growth is, number one, general aviation across the entire nation is rebounding for economic reasons, which we're happy about. Number two, in 2013, a second flight school was opened in Beverly. There was only one. Beverly Flight Center was operating for about 40 years. Very large, very successful. 2013, a second one, it was Aviair Flight School, opened up. And I spoke to the owner, and he says that they're now about almost the same size as each other. And he believes they're the 2 largest flight schools in the state. So one way to look at it, since 2013, the flight school training at Beverly Airport has basically doubled. And the third and final reason that is obvious to us is in 2017, the fixed-based operator, the business that fuels the corporate jets and takes care of the pilots and handles that business, was bought out. The previous owner was operating for 25 years. The new owners came in. They put $1.5 million into the business and made it incredibly attractive to corporate travelers that are, flying even from international destinations, because they have the ability to clear customs and immigrations. Business people on the North Shore, Boston. They made Beverly incredibly an attractive place to come into. So the corporate jet operations have increased as well. So those 3 factors, just the corporate travel through new ownership of the FBO, the flight school activity, and I will tell you, all of you watch the news, there are about 12,000 vacant pilot, commercial airlines, and you would be surprised. I was shocked when I found out how many people work for the airlines that came out of Beverly Airport. Over the last 25 years, it's astounding. And I know with Beverly Flight Center, they have 6 employees that are scheduled to leave for the airlines in the next 6 months. We know that the impact in the neighborhoods is being felt. I will tell you, in the last 12 months, we have done more as a commission dealing with the neighborhoods than we have in the previous 6 years. And we see collaboration between the flight schools and the tower, which we have absolutely no control over. The tower is a standalone FAA, mandated entity. But they're in collaboration, working with the neighborhoods, trying to see what incremental changes and improvements can be made. But I will say at this point, Beverly Airport is thriving. And we think that's a good thing. It drives about $35 million annually, according to the state, into our area economy. There are 260 jobs out there. It's basically a large factory. So I think I touched upon everything. As far as the open, I touched upon the open seats. So I'll just go into the reason I'm here tonight. I just want to let you know, and I wish I didn't find the need to come here tonight, but I'm here to advise the council that the Airport Commission will be seeking to work with the city to secure up to $250,000 towards the completion of a city-proposed construction project that they asked us to participate in back in 2015. Now, there's only two councilors that were here in 2015. Councilor Hausman and Councilor Rand were both here. If you recall, in 2015, I'm sorry, did I miss somebody?
I was here as well.
Councilor St. Hilaire.
Well, wonderful. I didn't see your name on the list, but anyway, I apologize, sir. But if you remember, in 2015, the city was in the process of tearing down Memorial Middle School. And the city had a crisis for finding real estate offices for displaced departments. It was the police detectives unit, the municipal inspectors, and the animal control, along with the DPS department, had a carpenter shop, which they needed to find a home for. So in 2015, and I was not even on the commission at that time, and neither was Peter, the city came to the Airport Commission and said, we have a plan. The airport was going to demolish. There's a building out there next to where the helicopter is. If any of you remember where the restaurant was, there's a long building. There's 3 sections. It's a restaurant section and then 2 office suites. And the city came to the commission at that time and said, we want to renovate the entire building. We think we can easily do it, and we will recoup the cost of renovation by occupying the 2 sections office suites, along with occupying an oversized garage back on the road going into the FEMA building. That's where DPS moved into. And they said, so we won't pay any rent for 8 to 10 years, and we'll recoup the cost of renovations by saving a huge amount of money in order for, in comparison, if the city had to go out and find on the open market these office spaces. So it was a big win for the city. So the Airport Commission at the time said this sounds like a wonderful job or a wonderful proposal. So they voted in favor of it. They then sent the proposal to the FAA. The FAA had to approve this proposal, and they had to authorize the changing of the land designation from airport use only to non-airport use. And the reason the FAA has jurisdiction over these about 3,000 airports and has those areas designated is to ensure that the airports aren't taken advantage of, let's say by a sponsor, and they put a used car lot on a piece of property, or they put school buses and they don't pay for it. But it's so that's why the FAA has airport use only and non-airport use. So the FAA, whose offices are right down the street in Burlington, Mass., that's where the New England offices are, they held on to that proposal from the city and the Airport Commission for 4 months. In the meantime, they put up on the Federal Register that says the city of Beverly wants to have the land changed from airport to non-airport use, and here's the plan. They're going to renovate the entire building 45. They're going to occupy portions of it for 10 years and then give it back to the airport for revenue generation to support the airport's budget. If anybody has any questions, please send it to the FAA. And also in the meantime, while the FAA was looking at this proposal, and they did finally approve it based upon the assurances that the city made to the airport and the FAA, the city asked the Airport Commission to make a contribution, a financial contribution to this proposal. Because, and I have the newspaper articles from 2015, our finance director, Ale, says, because at the end of the day, the airport will have a wonderful asset that it can use. So the Airport Commission approved giving the city of Beverly $117,000 for that construction project. And it was supposed to, that 117 was earmarked to go towards a new roof and blown insulation, some work on the restaurant parking area, and then some wiring, but it was $117,000. And the airport gave that money to the city from our funds. I will tell you, from that moment on, and I do apologize, I do not wish to come here and throw aspersions, but the city, in essence, walked away from at least half of that construction proposal. What happened is the city decided, instead of spending the capital budget from the DPS to refurbish the two parts of the building, it went to the CPA, the Community Preservation Act, and secured 2 grants totaling $600,000 to repair and refurbish the GAR building. And they decided to move the municipal inspectors from the airport, but put it into the GAR building. Now, we do not, begrudge the GAR building's gain, but the GAR building's gain of the municipal inspectors was at the expense of the airport. Because once the city got a hold of that CPA money, they didn't need to spend their capital, and they stopped work. Now, and at the same time, they were coming out to the airport, and Peter was there. It was March of 18, and they asked us to sign leases, locking them into where the DPS is, and they're still there. And we said, well, what about Building 45? And again, it was the first of several assurances. Yes, we're going to finish Building 45. The restaurant's going to be gorgeous. The office suite's going to be great. It's going to be just as beautiful as what the police detectives are currently occupying. And we were reassured. 2 years go by, and virtually nothing happened. Peter and I sat down 3 months after that meeting, and you can look at the public minutes. They're on our website. Peter and I had a meeting with the Chief of Staff, Mr. Hartunian, and the DPS Commissioner for 2 hours out at the airport, and they spelled out how beautiful they were going to make the rest of that building. Again, they wanted us to sign leases. We left that meeting thinking, well, they're clearly going to work on it. I mean, Commissioner Collins talked beautifully about he's going to restore it to the World War II the way it used to look, and they're going to make the restaurant section fabulous. And again, it was a series of reassurances that fell flat. Basically, 2 years went by, and actually it was almost 23 months ago, the Airport Commission during COVID had a public Zoom meeting and you can go on to our website. It's March of 2021. You can read the minutes. I will tell you, prior to that, the Airport Commission was openly discussing securing legal advice from a law firm downtown. It's Anderson Krieger. They have an airports division. And they were going to come on to our Zoom meeting and advise us what our case was, trying to resolve the fact that we gave $117,000 towards a project that we considered failed. But yet, the city was still not paying any rent for DPS's occupation of that site, and they paid us no money at all for the 5 years that the police detectives were there, which was all part of the original agreement, which we considered null and void because they just stopped work. Anyway, I just want to say, I believe, is my personal opinion, somebody leaked that information that the attorneys were going to come on and give us advice. And we were told the mayor's going to come on and speak to us along with DPS, Mr. Collins. And in that meeting, and you can look in the minutes, they said, absolutely, we're going to finish 45. We're going to work on the 2 sections. And this is only 2021. And one of our commissioners, Commissioner Schlittke, queried the DPS commissioner, well, when exactly are you going to begin? And Mr. Collins says, almost immediately. I want this off my table before the summer months of 2021. I'm here to tell you, 23 months later, nothing has been done to that building. And I do not enjoy coming here and making this presentation. But the airport gave $117,000 We understand that tough decisions have to be made. We understand that promises can't always be kept, but at some point, when we give $117,000, and I don't want to use analogies, but there's the case of this summer where the contractor was digging holes in people's backyards and then taking the down payment and then disappearing. Well, we've been told that, well, you've got a beautiful roof over that dilapidated building. You should be happy about that. And you've got 1/3 of the building, but we're at the point now is, I know that we're in the process of renovating this beautiful building. We're also talking about renovating another city asset. The library and the fire station needs work. I know we found money to fix the football field. We consider that Building 45 is a city asset, and we have a proposal that we agreed to with the city. We're hoping to work with the city, either through I don't know if a World War II building, a barracks and mess hall account for the CPA funding. That's one avenue, but we're going to work with the city and try to get $250,000 to finish that building. Because I just want to say, the entire commission knows what all of you do to help the airport. You vote on our budgets, you vote on our commissioner, you handle so much the city solicitor's office, the HR office. We appreciate what the city does for the airport commission, but this is something that I want to just say, if the airport commission that was seated in 2015 would have had any idea what was going to happen to that proposal, they never would have voted in favor of it. And they never would have given the city $117,000 towards a building project that we now consider failed. And I guarantee you, if the FAA would have had any idea that the proposal that they were reviewing and put on the Federal Register, if it was going to end up this way, they never would have agreed to this either. And it makes, again, I do not enjoy coming here, but we're looking for some improvement of the situation of that building. That's all I have. I will, and I'm going to throw one other thing in here. It might seem a little incendiary. In September, we spent $3,000 to have an appraiser come out and appraise the office suite that the police detectives occupied for 5 years, along with the property that DPS occupies and still today, all rent-free, based on a proposal that we consider null and void. We got the appraisals on it, and I will tell you, I then contacted the FAA in Burlington, Mass. And there's a gentleman named George Pantelli. He's the specialist in charge of land use. He specifically is in charge of making sure that the land of these, airports throughout New England, the land is handled properly. I walked him through the scenario that I've just shared with you. He's fully aware of it, and he says, Paul, I just want to tell you, it's clear the city of Beverly has bamboozled the airport commission at least 3 times in the last 6 years. And I use his quote simply to explain where the airport commission feels also. So that's where we're at. That's why when we get a chance next week, we're going to be going back to the mayor and seeking his support in trying to find $250,000 to finish that project. Otherwise, the building is dilapidated. We do not have the ability to repair it ourselves. The revenue loss that we were, I think the city has saved over $300,000 with the DPS and the police detectives unit. If you couple that with the $117,000 that we've gave to the city, it's a sizable shift or difference. So that's what we're looking for, and I don't think there's anything else that you want me to touch upon, but
Yeah, I think, thank you. I think probably we should pause there because you've given us a lot of information. And if there's any question from a counselor, I want to give a little time for that. Counselors, any questions or comments at this point? Counselor Feldman.
Yes, thank you. I very much appreciate your service and what you've done for the city. I know you said that you know what we do, but it really wouldn't work without people that step up and serve as you have, and very much appreciated. I am the Ward 5 city councilor, so I have, at least in the last 3 years, some knowledge of Building 45 and the back and forth surrounding this, and I don't have the full context of what happened in 2015, but I will say that last year at the budget hearing, I actually expressed my concerns about the city funding and putting effort and money into the repair of Building 45. And that was, I said it was going to be a priority this year. And now that I'm hearing this, I would like to say with my full support out loud that I am very concerned about getting that building redone with money from the city, because the more context I get on it, the more it's not right that it has been going on this long. And it has been, in the 3 years that I've been in office, it has come up multiple times from multiple different business owners there that are reaching out to me for relief, and I've seen pictures, and I very, very much appreciate you coming forward and speaking out about this, and you have my support.
Thank you. The entire commission appreciates that.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Houseman, I saw your hand as well.
Yes, Mr. Treffry. I just want to, I've got a lot of new information of aspects of this that I have not previously been aware of. So I just want to thank you and the members of the Airport Commission for all you've done for the city and, in providing community service. And I appreciate your, articulating the frustration, obviously, that the commission has from the situation. And I suspect there'll be a lot more conversation and discussion about it now that, you've brought this to the council. So I appreciate you coming here this evening.
One of the, from myself, and I speak for Peter, but, I told you, I was trying to get off the commission for a year. I mean, I've made plans. But both of us are still on this commission for one reason, and it's Building 45. There's just a sense of justice. I reiterate, I'm not an aviation enthusiast. I was on there to serve, and then this comes up, and I know Peter feels the same way. We're looking for some resolution. So
it took me almost 6 months to resign as chair of the Zoning Board of Appeals. So I understand. If I had resigned when I did, we would have had quorum problems, and we would have, we'd be
Right.
sort of dead in the water at the ZBA. So
Well, if Peter and I walk
appreciate
on-
the situation that you feel you're in.
Councillor St. Hilaire?
Yeah, I just want to say thank you for the transparency and honesty, and for sharing this information with us. And Councillor Houseman, perhaps in your role as Chair of Finance and Property, this might be a subject of an upcoming meeting. Certainly on the financial side, there was a lot there, but that's something that I think I'd be interested in talking about.
I agree, yeah.
I just wanted to, my line of thought was actually, in 2015, the people that were on that commission have taken that legacy and given it to the current commission. And now we have all the data we have. I'm going to be handing it off to a new generation of commissioners. So, and the reason I came tonight is because if we didn't ask for it tonight, it would probably just disappear under the radar. And so I appreciate you listening to our concerns and our request.
Thank you. I know two other councillors had their hands up, so I'll go to Councillor Sweeney, and then we'll go to Councillor Bowen.
Thank you. And as other councilors have said, thank you for taking the time both to present generally, but then to bring this specific matter to our attention. Shifting away from this matter and going to a topic, I know the airport is between managers at the moment, and I understand that the search is conducted in executive session. But given that you're here, maybe you could elaborate on how the airport has been managed in the interim, and then if there's a general timeline at this point in the process of when you would hope to name a finalist or pool of finalists and then potentially bring a longer-term replacement into the position?
As far as the management of the airport right now, we're very lucky. Every airport has a engineering consultant firm. They are the real smarts behind where the runways are and the signage and the radars and all of the budget issues that we need to plan ahead with the FAA, when the runway has to, a taxiway has to be repaired. ASG, Airport Solution Group. And there's about 15, staff of about 15 in Beverly, in Massachusetts. They manage, they're the engineers for about 7 or 8 different airports in Massachusetts. They actually, 5 years ago, between managers, one of their managers came over and was working at Beverly once a week. I think it was in between Bob Snuck and Gloria Bouillon, I believe. And again, since the beginning, and probably for the last 8 months, somebody
Mr.
from...
Jeffrey, and Councilor Sweeney, I want to make sure we're just staying sort of in a
Okay.
narrow parameter too and being,
So we do have, and he's here, we have somebody 2 days a week filling all the gaps, very professional, very capable, and it kept the place running, and we're very appreciative of that. I will tell you, as far as the job search is going wonderfully, the subcommittee, the screening subcommittee is actually, I'm a participant, so is Josh, as well as the Chief of Staff for the Mayor, Jocelyn Rule, and the Town Manager from Danvers, Stephen Bartha, and Mike Collins from DPS is on that. We had 20 applicants, and 2 of them were women, and we're happy about that. We would like to see a higher percentage. But,
Mr. Jeffrey, I think
yes.
we just need to be cautious about talking about an open job posting, I think is.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, just the question, I mean,
Assistant
I
Solicitor
understand
Olmstead is
executive session.
standing, so
Maybe
I-
just if there's a general timeline, I don't know if that would go too far into the details. I'm just curious as to when we'd expect. Yep. And I'm happy to talk to you. Okay, all right. I don't want to.
all I can say is very soon.
Okay, that's,
Very soon.
thank you.
If things go the way we want. So, we're excited about filling it.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Bowen.
Thank you. I just wanted to add my thanks as well, echoing other counselors, and just encourage us to stay involved. And I think to your point about, continual transitions in the commission, it's true of the council as well. People come and go, and we're passing information along. So I think the more we can do that, and we as a council can help with that process to keep these issues top of mind and keep them in the public record as well.
Right.
And keep as many new ideas flowing in to help solve where there are issues, the better. So I know we do have an open item still in our Public Services Committee to have conversations about operations at the airport during this manager transition. And, I think Councilor St. Hilaire's idea of also talking about some of the financial elements in the Finance and Property Committee makes sense to me as well. So to the extent we can be helpful by creating those forums, we don't want to add meetings to already busy people's plates, but I think that's a really valuable use of our time and a way to make sure that the conversation is happening most productively.
Well, I'm more than happy to come to the Public Works Subcommittee, because I saw you on BevCam, and I said, I think I can answer some questions for him, so.
Thank you, Councilor. Thank you very much, Mr. Jeffrey, and thank you also to Mr. Gentili and Mr. Doxey for being here with you as well. I'll just echo the thanks other councilors have expressed for the service that you provide and have provided in a couple of cases for many years.
Right.
So we thank you for being here with us tonight.
Well, thank
and
you.
it sounds like there's some more conversations to be had. Thank you.
My pleasure, thank you.
Thank you. We'll go now to our citizen speaker, and we do have one citizen speaker signed up. Just a reminder to anybody who may be watching or listening, the citizen speaker spots are available at our regular meetings. There are up to 3, and you can sign up for those by contacting the city clerk's office no later than 9:30 the morning of a regular meeting. And they are first come, first serve, and citizen speakers have up to 5 minutes to address the council. Unlike the presentations you just saw, citizen speaker spots aren't necessarily a back and forth, so you won't hear councilors asking questions or responding, but it doesn't mean we're not listening and taking it seriously, and it often kicks off our other conversations. So, Mr. Gates, Thank you for being here with us. I know we had you on the agenda before and you weren't able to come, and you had said it'd been the best 5 minutes of our meeting. So I'm glad that you could join us today.
I'm glad that, oh, excuse me. I'm glad that message made its way to you. Try to spice up things in life usually. I had no idea I was going to hear about Building 45 before me. I live around the corner, walk my dog by there, and it's not since the detectives moved out, it's a lonely spot, and the restaurant space is kind of gross, and it would be wonderful to see a restaurant back in there again. Same way a sports card owner likes somewhere to go for lunch on a Sunday, or a boat person likes a restaurant to go to. I think airplane people like somewhere to fly to, so maybe some of those Norwood or Lawrence people could come to Beverly, get lunch, and fly back to Norwood, because I think that's what airplane people do. So I digress, but I had no idea I was falling into this, and I'm very familiar with the property. So,
and Mr. Gates, I know I gave away your name, but just for
oh
formality.
yeah, Robert Gates, 61 Trask Street.
Thank you so
which
much.
I gave away my address. So, anyways, so I'm here just to talk about the city communication. So I just want to encourage the city, and that means the council and all the other sort of wings of city government, all the way down to the volunteers of the boards and commissions, to just try to think about new ways to embed citizen communication into absolutely everything they do. So in the morning, they punch in, or they turn the lights on, and then they check their email. Then they say, what am I doing today that I can tell people about? What did I do yesterday I can tell people about? And just trumpet the activities of the city. I mean, this is gonna sound a little demeaning, but like everything you do is for us, right? Like, let's just be honest, like you educate our kids, you clear our streets, you pick up our trash, it's all for us. There's no magical person in another faraway land who's being served by anything the city of Beverly government is doing. It's all about us. And when I moved here, I thought it was a big city. I now feel like it's a small town, okay? And we all need to treat each other like, and I've lived in small towns before that don't feel as small as Beverly does. And I'm barely exaggerating. And that's a really cool thing. And that's why when I moved here and knew 2 people, I have stayed here because of that. And I just think the city government needs to think every day about communication with their constituents. And I just want to, this came about a month ago when I was having an impromptu conversation with one of my neighbors who came to find out in a kind of a roundabout way that some development that the city was pushing was happening near her home and another person's home, and they didn't know about it happening, and it was scheduled to break ground in 3 months from that time. And I had known about it because I had seen you guys talking about it. There was a thing in the paper, there'd been some other things on social media and whatnot, and she just hadn't heard about this or whatever. And it just got me thinking, like, what are some other things that are going on that people haven't heard about? And then I was watching the BevCam episode with Mayor Cahill, and it was 9 minutes into it. He's like, oh yeah, Beverly's a single stream recycling community now. I'm like, what? I'm like, we've been waiting for this forever. And so I like Google it, and I'm like, I replayed it to listen to it, and I'm like, what? And it was like 9 minutes into this thing. It turns out it's on the trash page and everything, but it just caught me by surprise. I think like somebody in the city should go to the top of the church and just scream that it's a single source. No, I'm not exaggerating. Like there's been this widespread, massive misunderstanding about how our recycling works forever, ever since we went from every other week to this week, or once a week. And it should be, this is one of the 3 things in our government. Did I start my timer? I see people looking around. Oh, I didn't start my timer. What's the time? I'm sorry. I don't want to overstay my stay.
I think it's like 1:40.
1:40 left or 1:40 to go?
2 minutes to go, let's say.
Okay, cool. I brought some notes, but I got sidetracked with the Building 45 stuff. Yeah. So anyways, going back to that, I just think the city there's so many opportunities. Going back to my notes, because I did have a few points I want to hit on. You guys have 2 opportunities here. One is to lead by example, and one is to use your bully pulpit. So the lead by example, there was an intimate discussion over the revisions to the charter last week, down to like exact sections and dots and everything. Like, if that's online or somewhere available, that's like a conversation that like any John, Dick, and Harry can just sit down and listen to and follow along. But without those documents, it is Greek, right? And then we have the referendum coming up. there was a wonderful outline. Jerry Perry, your analyst, and Marilyn Contrea from like MMA or something, wherever. MMA? Yeah, no, yeah, Mass Municipal Association, yeah. Whatever. She was here. She outlined this meticulous timeline leading up to this. You cannot find that information anywhere, like all those dates and everything. Like every person in this city is going to vote on this thing in 10 months. And there's not a lot of information. You're talking about, I know that the paper's written a little bit about it, but 2 to 4 year mayor term's going to be on the ballot, 2 more school committee people. Like, I want to know, like, what's on the ballot? When is this going to vote? Just give me this information. And one last thing. The city has a blueprint for doing this right. Master plan process, wonderful. They built a micro site. I mean, they blasted it out. And the Hall Whitaker Bridge, again, another example where communication has been really frequent, often, and strong. So the city knows how to do it. It's just these little things, like the things happening on every little street corner, that's everyone's Hall Whitaker Bridge, right? So Hall Whitaker Bridge is affecting 6,000 people of Ryleside, but there's a Hall Whitaker Bridge at the end of my street. It's the storm grate, you know? And so it's just super important that the city just constantly be communicating to the people it's serving. And the last thing is, and it can be bad news too, right? You're riding the T or the train to Boston, and the train stops, and you're like between like Salem and Swampscott. You're like in that woods and stuff, and there's no reason this train should go below 50 through that section. And you're like, oh my God, what happened? The T has 2 options. You can either hold you in that train for 20 minutes with no information, or within 2 minutes they can tell you, I'm sorry, we hit a raccoon, like we'll start up again, right? Hitting the raccoon isn't good news, but it's news, and everyone just sits back, they listen to their phones, and they do whatever, and they move on. That piece of information is worth $1 million. Just think of every little thing that happens in the city as a T train hitting a raccoon. You know what I mean? So, anyways, that was a really awkward way to end it, but it's kind of the way I roll sometimes. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much, Mr. Gates. I think as advertised, that might have been the most lively 5 minutes, so thank you. And I'll just say communication is something that we definitely talk about and think about, so thank you. You've got us thinking about it some more. It's an important topic, so appreciate your report.
Was the update on the timeline for the airport commission?
Is the weekend before Memorial Day weekend. Thank you, Councilor Rotundo. I was looking at Councilor Rotundo because I knew he would confirm.
I'll tell you right now.
Again, another communication thing. I mean, it sounds like a wonderful event, but we never actually heard the date, so.
I thought it was the 16th, he said.
Councilor Rotundo's pulling up his calendar right now.
Oh, it's fine with the date. I can figure it out if it's May.
The 16th is a meeting.
So Memorial Day, so it would be May 20, the weekend of the 20th.
Thank you.
Okay.
Again, the whole BevCam world saw that now. So
Thank you. Thank you, Councilor, for pulling up your calendar there. Thank you again, Mr. Gates, for being here with us. Let's go to acceptance of minutes from previous meetings. We have 9 sets of minutes that we can approve this evening. And because it's so many, I think instead of approving them as a whole, I'll just go through them one at a time for a vote. We have a regular city council meeting, May 2nd, 2022. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Motion carries 9-0. Regular city council meeting, June 6, 2022. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Motion carries 9-0. Regular city council meeting, June 27th, 2022.
So moved.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. 9-0. Special city council meeting, August 15th, 2022. Is there a motion to approve?
Second.
So moved.
I'm sorry.
I like that.
Sorry.
Councilor Rotundo jumped into the future.
I apologize.
No, it's because he pulled up his calendar for May.
No, I just was in my own little world there for a second. My apologies.
That's okay. So we've got so moved.
In a second.
Perfect. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Motion carries 9-0. Regular city council meeting, January 17th, 2023. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Motion carries 9-0. Special city council meeting, January 25th, 2023. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
So moved. Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Councilor Husband carries 9-0. Councilor Husband's trying to mix things up.
Yep.
Minutes from our Legal Affairs Committee of the Whole meeting from January 25th, 2023. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Motion carries 9-0. Minutes from our Legal Affairs Committee, Committee of the Whole meeting, January 30th, 2023. Is there a motion to approve?
So, second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Carries 9-0. And our 9th set of minutes for this evening, the Public Services Committee, Committee of the Whole meeting from January 30th, 2023. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Motion carries 9-0. And thank you to Ms. Dixon for those minutes. Ms. Kent, let's go to communications. Actually, something I should have done at the beginning, I'm sorry. I should have recognized also that Assistant City Solicitor Beth Oldmixon is here with us, and Fire Chief Peter O'Connor is here with us as well this evening. Thank you both for being here. Ms. Kent, let's go to communications from His Honor the Mayor, please.
Order number 31, dear Honorable City Council, I am pleased to inform you that the City of Beverly has been awarded $11,918.28 in, is that right? In supplemental grant funding from the Mass Department of Transportation Aeronautics Division. This grant funding will be used to support security system cameras improvement at the Beverly Regional Airport. Mass General Law, Chapter 44, Section 53A requires both City Council and Mayor approval before any grant, earmark, donation, or gift to the city can be extended for their prescribed purpose. I therefore request the City Council approve this grant at the upcoming meeting. Sincerely yours, Michael P. Cahill, Mayor.
Thank you. Please refer that to the Committee on Finance and Property.
Order number 32. Dear Honorable City Council, attaches a request from Fire Chief O'Connor to declare a fire department vehicle as surplus property. The vehicle will be then donated to serve the remainder of its life in the fire services of Ukraine. I respectfully ask that you consider this request at your earliest convenience. Sincerely yours, Michael P. Cahill, Mayor.
Thank you. Please refer that to the Committee on Finance and Property.
Order number 33, dear Honorable City Council, I hereby reappoint, subject to your review and recommendation, the following residents to serve on the Beverly Golf and Tennis Commission: Chad Crandall, Kevin
Asalillo.
Thank you, Arthur Athenas, and Andy Cooper. These terms are effective until February 1st, 2025. Sincerely yours, Michael P. Cahill, Mayor.
Thank you. Please refer that to the Committee on Public Services.
Order number 34. Dear Honorable City Council, I hereby appoint, subject to review and recommendation, Ms. Jessie Subarek of 9 Herrick Street, Beverly, to serve on the Beverly Airport Commission. Her term is to be effective until December 31st, 2025. Sincerely yours, Michael P. Cahill, Mayor.
Thank you. Please refer that to the Committee on Public Services as well. Let's go to communications from other city officers and boards.
Order number 25 from Christine Bertoni, Chair, Conservation Commission, 25, regarding 2527 Beaver Pond Road proposed conservation restriction.
Please refer that to the Committee on Legal Affairs.
Order number 26, President Flowers and Council Rotundo, a report from the first and second quarter school subcommittee for finance and facilities.
I would entertain a motion to receive this and place it on file.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. That motion carries 9-0. And thanks as always, Councilor Rotundo, for your work in helping to get those together with Ms. Sherburne from our school department.
Order number 27, an application for a Class 2 motor vehicle license from the City Clerk's Office for AJ's Mobile Detailing LLC, 453 Rear Rental Street.
Please refer that to the Committee on Legal Affairs.
Order number 28, from the Finance Director Brian Ailes, a request for approval to use FY 2023 appropriated funds towards the payment of 2 prior year invoices totaling $13,571.01.
Please refer that to the Committee on Finance and Property.
Order number 35, from President Flowers, a reappointment for Budget Analyst Jerry Perry.
Please refer that to the Committee on Finance and Property. Communications, applications, and petitions, please.
Order number 29, an updated notice of public involvement planning meeting, Phase 3, remedial action plan, former Varian facility site at 150 Sawyer Road.
Thank you. I'd entertain a motion to receive that and place it on file.
So moved.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. That carries 9-0.
Order number 30, Department of Environmental Protection Waterways Regulation Program Report.
I would entertain a motion to also receive that and place it on file.
Moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Motion carries 9-0. At this point in our agenda, I would entertain a motion to take a break for some committee work.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. That motion carries 9-0. So just a reminder to all of us, this is committees within the context of our meeting, so we'll do things that we can handle without a standalone meeting, and we will have legal affairs in the committee room, finance and property stay here, and public services met before the meeting, so it doesn't have anything they can act on now, and so you're free to attend either other subcommittee meeting. We'll take a break for those subcommittees.
Call to order Subcommittee on Finance and Property. I think we'll take the matter of the request to declare surplus property of from Chief O'Connor first in order 32. Good evening, Chief. How are you?
Good evening. Thank you for having me.
Pleasure to have you here with us. Could you just tell us a little bit about how this came about? It's very interesting.
It is very interesting. So a few months ago, Chief Parisi, the Ipswich Fire Chief, brought this to an Essex County Fire Chiefs Association meeting and brought it up that the program existed. I was unaware of it prior to that. So we had what was our Engine 6. It's a 2001 KME. It was a workhorse for us for a lot of years, but it's really seen its time. So that was the next truck up for us to be replacing. So I reached out.
Excuse me, Chief. Call to order Committee of the Whole. Sorry, go ahead.
So I reached out to the point of contact that he gave me. I had a long conversation with him about the process and where it came from. It turns out he has a 7-year-old daughter that everybody can see what happens on the news, that asked him, what can we do to help the people of Ukraine? He had a healthcare connection, so he decided that he'd find a way to move ambulances over there. And then on his first delivery of ambulance was back in March of 22, did a second ambulance in April of 22. And then they had some real discussions about what else they needed over there. And since then, they've put together, I think they just came back with their last shipment, made a total of like 28 ambulances and their first fire truck. And the fire truck went to Mykolaiv, which the department that it went to had lost 5 fire apparatus since the start of the war. So this one replaced one of their apparatus. This truck may not go to Mykolaiv. There are certainly other cities in the country that need help. So I'm not exactly sure where it's going to end up yet. They'll make that determination based on the need when they get over there. So the simple answer is that's why I learned about it. Learned a lot more from Chris Manson, and the great things that they've done. Like I said, they just came back from their last delivery. So what would happen if this was approved is the truck will be sent down to Baltimore, loaded aboard a ship, and sent overseas. And then it'll be driven from likely Germany to Ukraine from there.
Interesting. Are there members of the subcommittee that have questions for the chief about this?
Just a comment. Thank you for, pursuing this. It's kind of an unusual, unique thing, and I appreciate you being proactive and taking the initiative to do it. Thank you.
Glad Chief Parisi brought it up. It's just a tremendous, I believe, opportunity. We're pretty, I can't say how fortunate we are to live where we live, and we can't imagine going through what's happening in other parts of the world, so it's just a good opportunity for us.
Thank you. President Flowers?
Thank you. Yeah, I would just build on to Councilor St. Hilaire's thanks to you. This is, we've had occasion to declare some other properties surplus for different reasons, but this is probably one of the most moving, I think, that I've had occasion to receive from a department in the city, and think about how our fire truck might, as it says here, live out the rest of its life of service, really benefiting people in a place of real need. So I'm very supportive of that. I think this is creative and really interesting.
Thank you. I just have one question. So for members of the public, to talk about surplus property. So this trip, this vehicle leaves service of Beverly as surplus property. Has something already taken its place?
We have. The apparatus that we bought last year, the Ferrara fire pumper that's now up at the North Beverly station, that has been the replacement for this truck, if you will.
Okay, thank you. If there are no other questions or comments, other members of the council, I would entertain a motion on this order.
Would make a motion to approve the order.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries 3-0. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate your work on this.
Hi, Chief.
The next item on our agenda is order number 31. This is a grant of $11,918 in supplemental grant funding for the Mass DOT Aeronautics Division. And this is funding that would support a security camera system at the Beverly Regional Airport. We don't have anyone here, but we just heard a long report from someone from the airport. Are there any questions from members of the subcommittee? Councilor St. Hilaire.
I mean, just given what we heard tonight, I have general questions about the finances that we're approving and their intended use, I guess, related to the airport. So I'm happy to approve this, but I do think there's probably some more discussion we need to have.
Well, yeah, in response to that, I mean, I think there's some inquiries that the Committee on Finance and Property, both finance and property, are involved in the matters that were raised by Mr. Treffry. So I think that we will have occasion to sort of learn more about that situation and
I guess I don't know how timely this acceptance is, I guess,
Yeah. Is there a motion to approve this grant?
Well, sorry, Mr. Chair.
Yes, please.
I guess I just, Councilor St. Hilaire, I think if I hear you right, you're questioning, is this timely? Do we need to do it tonight, or could we wait to get a little bit more information, given that there's a broader conversation about the finances?
I guess after hearing that, I'm not super eager to approve a whole lot of airport anything without learning a little bit more.
Council President, do you have anything to add to that? We can certainly hold this item, and would certainly be understandable, given what we just heard this evening.
I would be comfortable if we did that, just to have a chance to get more information. And I do think, given what we heard, having a conversation, as Councilor St. Hilaire suggested, in finance and property, where we could have a further conversation about the broader topic that we heard about.
I think that's appropriate, and holding up a grant is one way to make sure that we get the resources from the administration to have that conversation.
Yeah, and just to get the information, if we have questions about the grant itself, just to be able to
Yeah.
get that information.
Okay, we are going to hold order number 31. Order number 28 is a request to use appropriated funds from this year's budget to pay 2 prior year invoices totaling $13,571. In round numbers, about half of that amount is a bill from Morrison Mahoney trial attorneys for invoice from the solicitor's office, and another is in about the same amount, $6,700 roughly, of a purchase order on, it sounds like AT&T messed up their billing a little bit, and from the previous year, and it is amount owed by the police department for phone services. Any questions from members of the subcommittee regarding these two invoices? Go ahead, Councilor St. Hilaire? No?
No, I'm good.
Okay, Council President? No. If not, I would entertain a motion to approve paying these 2 outstanding invoices for the city.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries 3-0. And then the last item we have is a communication from Council President relating to reappointment of Mr. Perry, our budget analyst, and also addressing the question of what the hourly rate is on his salary. And Council President, as this is a letter from you, I'd invite you to perhaps talk with the subcommittee about this letter. Just parenthetically, I would add that Mr. Perry, I think, has done an outstanding job for this committee and the city as a whole. And I also think that the suggestion related to the hourly rate is entirely appropriate. Having said that,
Thank you. Well,
not
so.
to steal your thunder.
No, that's okay. This letter does have sort of 2 components, as you mentioned. The first is somewhat a matter of course. Mr. Perry's term is a 3-year term, and it has run out. We're actually a little over the window, so if we would like to reappoint him, we should consider moving quickly on that, I would say. So if we want to reappoint him as the budget analyst and continue in that role, this is the mechanism for that. So that part, I think, is fairly straightforward. It's not dissimilar from how we do other appointments, department heads, and our clerk. And the other piece of it, in speaking with Mr. Perry, and then I had the opportunity to speak with Mr. Ailes as well, our finance director. Mr. Perry's position has not had a rate adjustment in the time that he's been here, so it's been 6 years, 2 terms. And I think it sort of ties into a broader conversation that we've been having in the city about sort of bringing some of the positions to market rate or keeping up with the way that the market changes. Even the conversation that we had, thanks to Councilor Rotundo's ordinance that he introduced earlier in the year, just the questions about how do you keep positions in municipal government to keep pace with changes in the world. And so I think my suggestion is to increase Mr. Perry's hourly rate for the next 3 years. So this wouldn't be something that would then be subject necessarily to us looking at it again next year, but that this would be for the course of his next term. And that may set us up well too in terms of just thinking about the position being itself set up looking forward to the future, where it has not been adjusted or really looked at in the past 6 years. And I will say, in speaking with Mr. Ailes, he did not have any reservations from a financial point of view about being able to accommodate that shift. I know you and Councilor St. Hilaire know, but for those who are watching who may not know, of course, Mr. Perry's complete line item in the budget is set by charter as half of the city finance directors. And so it's not uncommon for us to not meet that amount in any case. And as the city finance director's line item is adjusted up, so is this line item in our budget. So we're not pushing up against it. And Mr. Ailes expressed that he felt comfortable with this. So I'll pause there, and if there's questions or discussion, we can go from there.
Yeah, I just have one question, if you know. I mean, my understanding is that maybe there has been 1 year, but I'm not aware that we've had any years in which Mr. Perry has used up the full allocated amount of the budget for the position for which he works. Is that correct, if you know? That's my understanding.
That is also, I believe that is correct, and that particular line item, because then it's not being used, has in some cases given us as a council some flexibility to be able to do other projects. For example, using some of that money to contract with the Collins Center to work on our charter and to do that work. And so the one thing I will say, Mr. Ailes said that just for us to think about is that potentially, if we became, to the point that we were using more of that line item, it may mean that we'd have to think differently about budgeting for some of those other special projects. But that didn't give him pause. He just suggested that that was something we should take into consideration.
Okay, thank you. Councilor St. Hilaire.
Yeah, I would just say I think Mr. Perry is exceedingly well qualified for his role, and I think we're very lucky to have him here in Beverly. And I think the role he plays, specifically advising us, is of tremendous value, and so an increase in his hourly rate, to me, is well worth the spend for the value that he provides. So I would wholeheartedly support re-upping Mr. Perry as long as we can have him.
Okay, thank you. Council President, as this sort of has two components and is one order, as Council President, would you prefer this to be one vote or two votes in two different components? We can do it either way.
I was going to defer to you as the chair, but I think if two votes might make it easier for the full council, and just if there is discussion on one point or the other. I don't know, Councilor St. Hilaire, do you have any thoughts?
On two votes or one?
Yeah.
I'm happy to do it as one.
Okay. I think it's more appropriate to do it as two.
It's fine.
I'm
Having
happy
said
to
that-
defer to what you
The
think
boss.
is chair.
Yeah. I just think for purposes of transparency,
Sure.
I think it's appropriate to do that. So I'm going to ask for, if there is a motion first on the reappointment of Mr. Perry.
I would make a motion to approve the appointment of Mr. Perry.
Is there a second?
Yes. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 3-0. And on the hourly increase for Mr. Perry's position, is there a motion on that as well?
I would make a motion to approve Mr. Perry's hourly rate from $55 an hour to $70 an hour. for
Is
the
there a
next 3
second
years.
to that?
Second.
And all those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 3-0. And that is, I think we are still waiting on order number 315 that was held over from last year still. So we will also hold on that. And with nothing else before the subcommittee, I would entertain a motion to adjourn committee of the whole.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
There's a second from Councilor Bowen. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Is there a motion to adjourn finance and property?
Make a motion to adjourn.
Is there a
Second.
second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned.
I always forget. go to reports from, actually. Yes, thank you. And also I want to mention unfinished business from previous meeting. That's Order 237, Counselor St. Hilaire's proposed zoning ordinance. And that is going to be part of our agenda for the 13th as well. And so we've been having that under unfinished business from a previous meeting, so it could be part of our broader zoning conversation. And
Thank you, Madam President.
thank you, Counselor St. Hilaire. So I just wanted to mention, for anyone following along with Order 237, it's on the agenda for next Monday at 7, along with the other zoning proposals. Let's go to motions and orders. Ms. Kent.
Legal ad 2023, order number 18, be obtained by the City Council in the City of Beverly as follows. Chapter 270, Vehicles and Traffic, Section 33D, do not enter is amended as follows. At a location at Kernwood Heights from Bridge Street from September 1st through June 30th, limited to Mondays through Fridays, 7:30 a.m. to 8:30 a.m. Section 270-33, obedience to special traffic control devices. D, do not enter, location, days and times. Bosworth Street from Bald Street, Monday through Friday, 3 to 7 p.m. Cressy Street at the Elliott Street, Route 62, end of Cressy Street. Ellsworth Avenue at Conant Street, Monday through Friday, 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. Kernwood Heights from Bridge Street from September 1st through June 30th, Monday through Friday, 7:30 a.m. to 8:30 a.m. MacArthur Road at Conant Street, Monday through Friday, 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. Putnam Street, one-way from Oakmont Road to Dodge Street, traffic to proceed northwesterly from September 7:30 a.m. to September through June, 7:30 a.m. to 8:30 a.m. and 1:30 p.m. to 2:30 p.m. River Street at Pleasant Street, Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. Tremont Street from Cabot Street, Tremont Street from Ellsworth Ave, 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. and 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. And this was published in the newspaper February 3rd, 2023, and this is the first reading.
Thank you, Ms. Kent. So, councilors, we cannot vote on that tonight. This is the first reading, and it will be, we'll be able to vote for final passage at our next regular meeting on the 21st. Thank you, Councilor Rotundo, for your work on that. Let's go to reports from committees, Ms. Kent.
The Committee on Public Services on Order 331, to whom refer the matter regarding a public draft of Phase 3 Remedial Action Plan, was voted to receive and placed on file.
Thank you. Questions or comments on this one? All those in favor of receiving that? Oh, Councilor Feldman.
I'm sorry.
Is there a second one that has the comment? I feel like we maybe had two orders.
Some can't be tonight because it can't be reported from minutes from your last meeting. From tonight's meeting, I only have the order 331.
I'd entertain a motion to take a brief recess of 2 minutes for public services.
So moved.
Thank you.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Carries 9-0. Thank you very much, everyone. Call the council back to order, and thank you, Assistant Solicitor Olmixon, and everybody working together. We sorted that out. So, Ms. Kent, back to reports from committees.
So the Committee on Public Services, Order 331, to whom refer the matter regarding the former Marion facility site, 150 Sawyer Road, have considered said matter and would like the full council to discuss.
Okay.
Back to the council.
So it's referred back for discussion by the council.
Yes, thank you.
Does someone from Public Services, Councillor Feldman, or a member of your subcommittee want to give us an update about that?
I would, if Counselor Bowen would be so kind as to, she has prepared a draft of, that we discussed in subcommittee prior to this meeting. So if she would like to take it away from there.
Sure. And I brought copies of the draft that I worked on and brought them to the subcommittee. We talked through and collectively felt that these were the main areas of concern to the neighbors that we as a council could echo and submit as public comments. As you'll remember from the previous phase of this work, we can submit public comments individually, we can submit public comments as a council, and either way, Varian and their consulting team at Aptim have to respond publicly to those comments. So we would get a copy back of their responses, and they post all the public comments they receive and their responses to them. And so the draft that's in front of you now just recaps the letter that we all signed off on for public comment for the previous phase of the project, and then points to 5 areas of their remediation plan. So they're the strategies that they evaluated for cleaning up the contamination that came up at the public meeting through discussion with the Mass Department of Environmental Protection. I keep getting that one wrong. And neighbors seem like they are not as ambitious as we were hoping for, where they're selecting strategies that are less costly but also take significantly more time. And so the draft in front of you is encouraging reevaluation of those to take into consideration our desire for a fast solution, given that it has already been going on for 20 years, and to address, so there's sort of 5 points around that and areas where they're talking about minimizing risks, but not in the way that neighbors have asked for. And then 2 bullet points at the end to sort of emphasize the feedback that has come from Mass DEP already about deficiencies in the report that are highly technical, so I don't think it's appropriate for us to get into the technicalities, but just to say that we're relying on that advice and want it to be taken seriously. And similarly, that additional work being done by another consulting firm commissioned by our neighbors at the Shore School be also taken into consideration, because it is filling some data gaps that have been observed throughout the process. So that's the current draft, and I think we were hoping to ask for support from across the council, and also, as we did last time, for folks to consider submitting comments. The deadline for submission is next Tuesday, the 14th.
Thank you, Councillor. Are there any other questions, comments, or discussion on this letter? Councillor Crowley, I know you've been very involved in this work too.
Yep, so one of the things that I did like about this compared to what some of the remediation plans and stuff that were brought at the meeting, this comes back to us asking them basically to, not just do the old things that they've done consistently, and it hasn't worked because it's failed because the cleanup hasn't been done yet, but this is a little bit more aggressive for that. In particular, having to do with the contamination under Building 3 and Building 5. And I know a lot of them are looking at the cheapest way so they don't have to move the business that's under one of the buildings that sits right there now, versus us asking them to do the complete cleanup and the heating of that ground. And it's time to get it done now and not wait another 20 years. So and that's what this helps. I think, do that.
Thank you, Counselor. Any further discussion or questions or comments from counselors? So as with other, as Counselor Bowen referenced, we did submit public comment on this. We've done this with a few other matters. Any vote in the affirmative would be counselors who would like their names added to this. And counselors, if there are counselors who do not want their name on this, that would be a vote in the negative. So is there a motion to approve this public comment from the council?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. That carries 9-0. And so, Ms. Kent, would you be able to affix counselor signatures to this? If Counselor Bowen, I know this is a draft, would you be able to forward a final version? Thank you. And thank you to the Public Services Subcommittee for working on that at your meeting tonight.
Okay, so the vote 8 to sign it.
Yes.
Okay, ready? Order number 32, the Committee on Finance and Property, to whom refer the matter regarding a request from Fire Chief O'Connor to declare a fire department vehicle as surplus property. The vehicle will then be donated to serve the remainder of its life in the fire services in Ukraine. Have considered said matter and beg leave to follow. Recommend the council approve this request.
Questions or comments? Question comes on the acceptance of the proposal and adoption of the order. All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Thank you. That motion carries 9-0. And thank you again, Chief O'Connor, for your work on helping us think as a community about how we might be supportive to people in Ukraine.
Order number 28, Committee on Finance and Property, to whom refer the matter regarding a request for approval to use FY 2023 appropriated funds towards the payment of 2 prior year invoices totaling $13,571.01. Have considered said matter and beg leave to follow. Recommend the council approve this request.
Questions or comments? Question comes on the acceptance of the proposal and adoption of the order. All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Thank you. The motion carries 9-0.
Order number 35, the Committee on Finance and Property, whom referred the matter regarding an appointment for Mr. Jerry Perry to serve as budget analyst. Have considered said matter and begged leave to follow. Recommend the council approve this reappointment.
And we did this in 2 votes? Yep. Okay. So there were 2 votes because there are 2 sort of components of this letter, and so Finance and Property voted in 2. So the first would be a recommendation to approve the reappointment of Jerry Perry as our budget analyst. And so I would entertain a motion on that portion.
So moved.
Second.
Is there any discussion on that portion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. That motion carries 9-0 to reappoint Mr. Jerry Perry to his position as our City Council budget analyst. The second vote was pertaining to the suggested rate increase for the position from $55 an hour to $70 an hour. Is there a motion on that portion?
So moved.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Councilor Bowen.
Thank you. I'm supportive of the plan and just had a question about the budget space available, and want to make sure if we have recurring balances in that account, that would this, increase fully close that gap, or we're still anticipating some balances? And then 2, when we as a group may be able to think about other needs that we may have around communications, other types of advice that we may be able to tap that balance for. So they're sort of related to the question of that increase, but from my perspective, don't get in the way of it, but just want to sort of confirm that with the
I think the second half of your question about other budget priorities or how we might budget or look forward, I'm looking at Councilor Houseman because as Chair of Finance and Property.
So, yeah, if I may, so I actually reserved a couple of weeks ago, and I filed with the City Clerk's office today to show up on our next agenda, notice of 2 coming finance and property meetings, one of which will be the beginning of March, which addresses the council's budget priorities. And it'll be a full open for the, open for the full council to discuss, even though it's a subcommittee meeting.
And that's at the start of March, you said, Councilor Houseman.
I don't recall the exact date at the beginning of March, but it's
March
the first
13th?
week of March.
13th, was it?
Could be. I know we wanted Mr. Perry to be back at that point, be available.
I think it was March 13th. Okay. And the other question we did discuss somewhat in subcommittee was just having still some availability or flexibility in that line item and the potential for that.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's appropriate for us to ask Mr. Perry a little bit of information about, what happens with that difference on an annual basis, what it is and how it can be used. So I think this is an appropriate request of Mr. Perry to give us some information.
Thanks.
Thank you, Counselor. I think the long and the short is it does not preclude us from having further conversation about that. Oh, is there any other discussion? Sorry, I lost track of myself. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. That motion also carries 9-0.
Order number 27, the Committee on Legal Affairs, whom referred the matter regarding an application for a Class 2 motor vehicle license for AJ's Mobile Detailing LLC, 453 Rear Rentoul Street, have considered said matter and beg leave to follow. Recommend for the license to be granted.
Questions or comments on this one? Question comes on the acceptance of the proposal and adoption of the order. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Thank you. That motion carries 9-0 to grant that license. That's it. All right, thank you very much. I know that we said it at the beginning of the meeting, but I will just remind all of us, but also anyone following along on BevCam, that we will meet next Monday here in Council Chambers at 7 p.m. for a special meeting so that we can take up two important matters, the city charter and where we are in that process and moving that forward, and proposed zoning changes, both those that were filed by the planning department, and also, as I mentioned, Order 237, Councilor St. Hilaire's order will also be on that agenda so that it can be part of that discussion. So that's an important reminder for our community. Are there other reminders or announcements that councilors may have? Councilor Houseman.
I guess I might as well just as well follow up about the other of the two meetings F&P will be having. At the end of this month. Finance Director Ailes will be coming before the subcommittee, and again, the full council will have an opportunity to ask questions. We will be having a somewhat different format, which I think will be very interesting and hopefully informative in the budget process, which is that we will have a digital electronic budget document, which will be interactive. And that will be submitted to the council and be part of the budget review process. And that's something we've been trying to get towards for years. I had the pleasure of letting Councilor Ames know that this was coming, because I knew she would in particular appreciate this, given the work that she did on the subject. And it will probably complicate in a way our budget process, and part of the purpose of this coming meeting will be to all of us have a chance to see. I've already sort of walked through with Mr. Ailes, but the rest of the council have a chance to see what it is, and for the subcommittee to have an opportunity to sort of think through how we can use this to help inform us and members of the general public without us totally bogging down the necessity to get through the budget, because it'll be a lot more information, and the opportunity to ask questions and take a lot of time, which of course will be beneficial from one perspective, will be very much present, I believe, but also could really bollocks up the need to meet the deadlines and have a review in a timely and efficient manner. So that's the purpose of this meeting at the end of the month of F&P.
Thank you, Councillor. Any other updates or announcements for the community? All right, well, I will once again thank Assistant Solicitor Old Mixon for being here, Fire Chief Peter O'Connor for being here with us, our presentations from our Veterans Agent, David Perrin Chief, Paul Treffrey, and other members of the Airport Commission. And thanks as always to Kim in the booth with BevCam for making sure that everyone can stream this meeting and follow along. And thank you, councilors. Great work. I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All those in favor? Aye. Thank you very much. 9-0, we're adjourned.